There are no two words in the English language more harmful than good job.
All right, everybody, we are here back in London again with Igor Gama, who is somewhere in the vicinity of greater London area here. And if you guys are curious, I have links at the bottom for his LinkedIn, different places he's worked at. And I guess, before I go on, I'll let you introduce yourself, Igor. Go ahead.
Hi, Matt. Thanks for having me, first of all. It's a great pleasure that I'm here. Well, my name is Igor. I'm Portuguese. I come from a really small town in Portugal, and I moved to London almost 6 years ago. I have been a visual effects compositor since then, and try to develop my career here in London, where I've been.
Cool. So we'll go into your history a little bit. You've worked for MPC as a Nuke, senior VFX compositor, lead VFX compositor, and so forth. And you've worked on a whole bunch of movies, Doctor Strange, and a bunch of television shows like Black Mirror. If you guys are interested, IgorGama.com is his website, and we'll get into that a little next. And we're going to also talk about ComPlayer. Again, ComPlayer is not paying me. I just want to preface that. But Igor, you've gone through his program, and I'm always about promoting anything that, and it's quite an effort, as you were saying about Pedro building this, because you're rarely going to see anybody at a senior level creating something that can take somebody that's even a senior artist and pushing them up to VFX Supervisor. I still believe there's a gap there for mid-level, type training with really large comps and complex comps and variety of comps. But in regards to being way at the top and kind of moving even way up the top, ComPlayer, I've heard through many different people that it's a really cool thing to get into, and I guess we'll kind of talk about that. And then we'll have questions and so forth. So just kind of starting out, it says you basically started in this school called ESAD. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, or?
Yeah.
We're going back.
So, what, sorry?
So we're going back a little. So.
Yeah, all good. So basically, I moved to. So I'm not from Matosinhos. That is where that school it is. So I moved to Matosinhos to study there, and I actually start as a graphic designer. I went for a school to do a course in graphic design. However, the first year for all the courses is common. So basically, after the first year, I just decided to swap to the other course. So I decided to go to multimedia and digital arts, because, to be honest, I didn't know exactly what I wanted on that time. I went to university convicted that I wanted to be a graphic designer, because I started playing with Photoshop, and my family said, "Oh, that's amazing. That's how you do nice things." So I was doing like such a weird that I'm quite ashamed of the photo montage that I was doing with that. And then I think that that was what pushed me to go to graphic design. But while I was there at the uni, I started being in contact with other disciplines, and I found quite curious about multimedia, because I could explore different disciplines in multimedia that I could put my vision on. However, I still wanted to follow kind of graphic design, because the composition of those elements in the graphic design always always interested me. So I start. So I start that course, like the second year of that course, and I start being in contact with video, with audio, with web as well. And on the third year, I had the experience to work in motion graphics. So, and that really did the click to me. So I really like that animating thing, and probably because in video I could have like the animation of those elements as motion graphics, and still have to play with composition in terms of those graphic elements, you know. So for me it was a combination of both worlds that really got me. So
I
after
truly believe
after
the blind spot by a lot of compositing, because we spend so much so much time learning Nuke and getting the basics down, that was ringing in my ears or repeating in my ears, is what Josh Park said in our last interview, was like the avoidance or the blind spot of avoiding the idea of balancing a shot and the composition of a shot and leading the eye to a specific part of the shot is so nowhere
totally.
near there. And that stuff is established in still image type realities of learning graphics design, still image work, and then you move
Totally.
on to the
Yeah.
moving image. So
It's composition.
yeah,
You start doing composition by choosing your typography, by choosing the if it's a bold or italic or whatever, or if it's on the right top or if it's bottom, and then the other elements as well. So it all has its weights, you know. So and I think in motion graphics, I start seeing that I could combine everything. Uh, However, on that after that year of the third year, so I finished my course there. I got an invitation to work at the uni, um, like helping some departments there, like the multimedia department, where they shoot some conferences, like whatever, small things, but for me it was really good experience, I would say. And then they started that year the post graduation in motion design, and I was really excited to be the first class as well, as I became now with the complete. Um, and while I was doing the that post graduation, I got an invitation to teach there as well. So I helped a big friend of mine that is also a teacher there, and the director, and we teach the video lab there for the second year of the course that I just did, and it was amazing. I really discovered that I really like to teach and to help people, and I remember like each class was like 2 hours long, and for at least for me, not sure about the students, but for me, I always felt that it's like they just fly, you know, the time, because I really want to explain every detail, everything that I knew, and 2 hours it wasn't enough for sure. So, but I don't know. I always, everything that I do, I always try to bring my own passion for this field, and I really like that experience, and I'm quite sure in the future I will pretend to start maybe doing some tutorials or to teach somewhere else, or I don't know. For now, so basically, I teach there for like almost 2 years, and then I got a job opportunity out of the school that I decided to take because I was feeling that I wasn't. How can I explain this? I was teaching, but I didn't feel prepared in the sense that I didn't have experience in the field, you know. I could know, yeah, like I was almost like a book, a book that just talk with people, you know, because I was really young and I didn't have any experience. So my thought was like I have to go to the industry, do something, and then maybe like 10 years, in 10 years I will come back or so, I don't know. But I just didn't want to stay in the school with just that knowledge. I want to put my hands on and work and have my career as an artist as well. Not sure about other countries, but in my country, there is in most of the fields a difference between what they teach us at the uni and the proper field. You know, like when you go to the industry, it's totally different from what you have been taught. You know, like, and then you are like, but come on, I just took like a course that took me 3 years to accomplish, and now it's different. So I feel like the unis should be much more close to the real productions, you know, in our field, I would say. For like, I don't know, to have more like for not just having like students that pay courses for then don't have a job, you know, like sometimes I kind of feel like schools as a business, you know, and not creating professionals that could start working immediately after the course, because I think you should, as a society, you should create professionals that could have work. You know, it doesn't make sense for just creating like someone capable, and then the society doesn't have a job for you. You know.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Is like the teachers get the blame for that, and that's why I always defend the teachers. I don't defend the school. I think the school system. I fought that fight for 15 years, and I don't think that fight will ever be truly won, because you're fighting again. The teacher's between a rock and a hard place, and the teacher gets the blame. The teacher's the face the student can look at and say it's your fault. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you got the business, and then you have the teacher in the middle who has to face these kids eye to eye, and they're looking at him like, I need to know more. And you're like, I'm trying, but I have meetings, I have syllabuses to build, I have endless meetings. I don't know, teachers take too many meetings about pointless stuff. And then babysitting, or I should say, being a counselor for, anywhere from 20 to 50 students, keeping an eye on them, whatever they're doing, motivating them, then teaching classes, then having homework to take home. And I found that when I started to interact with the visual effects community, especially in Chicago, there was this, I wouldn't say snobbery, but just kind of like educators, they don't know what they're doing, they're not in production type reality. And I'm like, there's a part of that that's true, obviously, but there's a part of it that you don't even, you kind of like say, like, they're trying to, the ones that really want to do their best, they'll do their best, and the ones that don't care really about it, or they have no conviction about it, will be that Laffy Daffy, like that. I always say that scene from the movie Whiplash, where it says there's no two more harmful words in the English language than good job. You know,
Yeah.
where it's like telling them, yeah, yeah, you're good enough. Yeah, it's fine. You know, and and at the same time, as a teacher, I'll defend a teacher in this. When you don't say good job nowadays, especially just maybe it's just in America, the sensitivity of people today is so high that they're like, I'm gonna write you a bad review, and like that kind of attitude, like what, a B, not an A, and it's just
Yeah.
like, what about a C or a D or even an F? I mean, there's such a reality of teachers aware of them being evaluated their future employment. That's part of the system of education I don't like. I think teachers should
Yeah.
fail and fail hard. It's like,
Yeah.
you know,
It's well, we would have a lot to talk
oh
about
yeah,
education for sure. And yeah, I think it should change the way that things have been
but yeah,
done.
let's
Uh,
move on because I know we're
one, yeah, no, let me just
yeah.
finish with something. Basically, on that post graduation, one of the amazing things that they have done was, I still remember this. We had like during it was just like 1 year. Um, we have we had like, I don't know, a lot of workshops, like small workshops, like 2 weeks workshops or something, with the people that were exactly in the business. So they came to teach us, not just teach us like for just a small period, like 3 or 4 hours. He actually, the person came, talked to us. They have been like for 2 weeks, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, more or less, at the uni. They kind of live there for that short time, but we could. So it's like about, I still like. Have you heard about Trojan horse as a unicorn? That festival. Not
No.
sure if. Okay, it's a big festival of visual effects.
Hmm.
Well, not for visual effects, but like for concept artists as well. It's Trojan horse. I can send you a link later on. But basically, the way that they differ from the major is like the people in that week, they stay there and talk with everyone. They just don't go for that talk and then go away. So, and this makes all the difference because you can interact with those persons, you can ask questions, you can have a more sense of what's going on outside of the the school. So it was really good for all the students. I can say, because like after that course, a few people went to Barcelona to do internships, and I don't know. It was they. I think they did really well, and for me, the only contact that I had with visual effects. I was when back in those days, I thought that visual effects was a subfield of motion graphics, and
Mm.
just after that, I start understanding that visual effects is one thing, motion graphics is a totally
Oh
different
yeah,
thing.
big time.
Um, and after that post graduation, we had like the second year we had experience like a really good friend of mine that he came from Brazil, and he gave us like 90 hours of Nuke. However, we didn't have any license. We didn't have like anything. So basically, those 90 hours, they were like fascinating for me because, well, he wasn't that much experience in Nuke, but he have worked with Nuke, so he did his best at that time, and he tried to explain the difference between like Nuke and After Effects and what you could achieve more in Nuke. And for me, it was the turning point that that I decided I have to learn Nuke, and it was as I did it. I learned Nuke by myself.
That's the thing is, I get a lot of trash talking by my audience because I talk about Corridor Digital kind of promoting After Effects, and I'm like, it's not, and there's a big, wherever you go, some people tell you it's not software, it's not software, it's not software, it's what you know, and that's true. But at the same time, node-based compositing versus stack-based compositing, I mean, there's no contest. You have to go node-based if you're going to be working in production at the level,
I think like I think like After Effects it's a great software.
It is.
No doubt about it. Not just, but it's just not the software for compositing.
Yeah.
Or if you pretend it's like for heavy compositing,
It's the
like,
Swiss Army knife of compositing, basically. It's
it's basically like for how can I say, like for motion design studios. It's amazing. It's amazing, and it does brilliant things. And for people that can play with Cinema 4D and Houdini and stuff, and then can start do, I don't know, some vignetting or playing a little bit with some passes, but really simple things, you can do with the After Effects. But if you start thinking about projections and more in-depth topics, you can play with that. Like this week, I was like working at this current company, and I was asking for cryptomat, and the guy was like, "Oh, cryptomat, that's really nice, but does it work with you?" And I was like, "Why not?" And the guy just said, "Because like in After Effects, it's really slow. At least the last time that I played with it, and that's why, because After Effects doesn't play really well with these heavy passes, because Cryptomat is quite heavy. It has a lot of information in there. Otherwise, in the other end, if you put like a MP4 or a MOV into Nuke, it just crashes. It is not made for that, So different softwares.
So should we jump into your history a little bit here?
Okay.
So going after school here, you have so much experience. I gotta like go through here. So you jumped into this seems like very.
You have to go down.
Even
if
further?
You want to start from the beginning. Yeah.
Show more.
Because like I have that is not my. No, go up.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Yeah.
You have so much experience. It's like 5 or 6 clicks on LinkedIn knows you got.
Yeah,
you know what you're doing,
negative probably.
Double negative. Okay, yeah. If you want to, obviously a series of other places here: Dialogue, Legendary People, Luxa Studio, Push, and Double Negative. Which it's really interesting. I hear so much positivity about Double Negative. It's just one of the companies I'm like, I think I would aspire to work for one day. I don't know. I've heard some really good stuff about it. I don't know. I could be wrong, but
basically, how can I? So basically, I was in Portugal. I decided to quit from that internship that I had back in those days, and I decided, okay, I go to study Nuke by myself for 6 months, and I'm gonna apply to London as a roto artist, because I knew that would be a way to get in. So, and this is a quite funny story, to be honest. So basically, I start building my own website, not what you see now, but I was starting building my own site with my projects about rotoscoping, with some passes, like a kind of breakdown how I did it, and I had like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, I don't know. I was start learning it. Back in those days was quite difficult, I would say, to learn from YouTube tutorials, because you didn't have that much. And the hardest part, you didn't have people that you could talk and ask questions, because sometimes you spend a lot of time just trying to figure out how to do it, you know. Because I came from like After Effects, and I knew that would be possible in Nuke. I just didn't know how to get there. So I started building those small rotoscoping projects, and then I started applying to London. I applied to MPC and Double Negative, and like as soon I said like I was in Portugal, those companies didn't want to compromise themselves in taking me from Portugal and move to London.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you pulled a Hugo, huh?
So basically, on the third interview, I was like a bit like frustrated about like how this situation could, because I was saying, guys, I could move in 2 days, and I just need this opportunity. So, however, no one believed in me. So on the third interview, it was with Dinag, and I talked with the recruiter, and he asked me if I was living in London, and I said yes, I do. And the guy, oh, so can you come like this afternoon or tomorrow for an interview? Back in those days, we didn't have that much video calls and whatever.
Yeah.
Now it's so normal, right?
Ready Player One.
Yeah. So I basically said, well, at the moment I'm not in central London. However, so this was on Wednesday. I said like on Friday I could be there, and the guy, oh, that's great. So let's do it. So the guy said, oh, let's do. I think it was 11 a.m. or something. So basically, I was living in Porto, that is a city north of Portugal, and in one day, I put everything that I needed inside of one bag, and I flew to London, and I flew on a Friday morning, and I left my luggage with a friend of mine that was working at video.
Oh,
So
the Pixel Gypsy adventure began.
Yeah, so I went to Double Negative for that interview, and my English was like very bad, and the guys were asking me about like normal questions, like in interview, but at some point they asked me, so how long have you been living here in London? And I said, I just looked to my watch. A few hours. And then I obviously explained everything, and they totally understood that, and also they explained me why some companies do this. So basically, they offer me 1 month contract for Double Negative TV, and they said, you have 1 month to prove what you can do. And I accept that challenge. And that's how I moved to UK.
So you started as a prep and a roto artist,
I started as a roto artist. Then like Double Negative had like a great library of tutorials to learn. So after 6 o'clock, I stayed like, I don't know, at least 2 hours each day for learning as much as I could and as fast as I could, because I believe that being a roto artist for all life is not the goal. At least it wasn't for me. So I learned a lot. I tried to do as much as I could, and after, I think it was like 2-3 months, I was asking for a prep shot. If the production could give me a prep shot, that I would like to do it. Nowadays I look back and I was like, oh gosh, that shot was so easy. So I asked it for it. They gave me. I couldn't sort that shot. I couldn't do a corner pin. Imagine a corner pin. So like whatever. I asked for help, and I have to say this, like the double negative TV back on those days, all the team, they were amazing with me, always very supportive. They taught me a lot. I learned a lot there. Yes, so that was my first shot as a prep artist, and like 3 months later, so basically after 6 months later, I start having compositing tasks as a junior comp, and that's how everything started. Yeah.
It's funny because I just got interviewed by Madlux VFX Manoj Manoharan, and he was telling me that in retrospective prep and roto, that there is actually that a lot of the people in India are starting to see AI based roto prep being done, and they're a little concerned about their jobs, So I found that rather interesting, where they're sending the stuff off to a server and getting information back. Again, it's just all hearsay for now, but I didn't even think that was really a threat yet, because I did some experimentation with that copycat node, and I can see what the folks at the Foundry are trying to build, and it's really cool. I just don't think it's there yet. You know what I mean? The complexity of just, and I was talking this with my experimental animation teacher yesterday. We did our final presentations. Like, I was using Copycat to actually create chaotic imagery, and it really didn't do much, with the exception of create some rare red and green matrices artifacts and blurry cross dissolves. But in general, it was like, how do you train a computer to do art? Because sometimes art can be sort of flawed. You know what I mean? Like, how do you get artistry taught to a computer? It's not just, we're not just doing a task. We're doing a task with an artistic flair to it. See what I mean?
Yeah, but you have to understand that compositing in general is very technical, and all those roto artists is not. Rotos. Roto tasks and even prep, they are not creative. They are technical, mainly. You could have like an input of a creative way of doing it, but I wouldn't call it a creative task. And for that purpose, I think AI could be really helpful.
It's binary. It's either A or B, but sometimes it
Yeah,
does take
I think
the human mind to figure out how to solve a certain issue. Not to say that the computer can't eventually figure it out with quantum computing one day, but
the thing is, like, we are in an early stage of AI, and I'm quite sure in 10 years or something, this is going to be totally different, because now obviously we can't use at least for as like a global technique, or like like a technique that we know that's gonna work for sure, and you can't guarantee that as a copycat. However, probably the thing's gonna be developed even further, and probably you could have, I don't know, some controls about how can you manipulate, if you want more that effect or not, with the copycat or with even other nodes. But I believe that this could be very powerful and could give uh, more freedom or creativity for the artist to play with more interesting tasks, because sometimes we spend a lot of time trying to just fix some issues with a shot, and when you get time to be creative and to give your touch on your shot, you just don't have time to, so I think these will allow us to be more creative as this. I think it's gonna be really good.
So from Double Negative, you jumped over to Framestore and worked on Doctor Strange. And then anything you want to say about Framestore at all, or?
Well, I think Framestore is also a great company. However, I think the time that I spent there, it wasn't the most enjoyable one. Not because exactly the company itself. It was, well, Doctor Strange, it wasn't an easy film. First of all, because it's Marvel. Yeah, and we all know how Marvel movies are. And then they were in the old building. There was some construction on the side that made a lot of noise. Believe it or not, the noise was so strong and the vibrations on the building, they were so strong that with the tablet you couldn't almost point the things.
Wow, what were they doing, for crying out loud?
Man, this was like crazy. Yeah, so I didn't enjoy that much my experience there. However,
working in a constant earthquake would do that, I guess.
Well, I don't think that it's Framestore's fault. It was I wasn't just lucky with the time that I have been there, and then I got an offer from Analog Studio. That it's not. I don't know why it's not.
Future Deluxe. Yeah. Analog Studios. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I went to Analog Studio. Not sure why it's not like it. Yeah. So basically, I went to Analog Studio to work in commercials. So basically, I start with Double Negative on TV shows. Then I moved to Framestore to film, and then I moved to Analog Studio to do commercials. And probably it was the best studio that I have worked on for a lot of reasons. I learned a lot there. It is a small studio, and the head of 2D there, he was head of 2D at MPC as well. So the team of comp there, it was like, I don't know, 3-4 people. It depends on those projects. But like, as you can understand, you are very close to your leads. So you can learn a lot. So I was like trying to do my best there. And again, it was a totally different environment because it was a small studio, and those two previous companies, they were like quite big companies, right? And then
And that's what we had Xavier on, and he was talking about how studios, I think it's DNEG that's doing it too, that's trying to break up the big studio into 6 individual studios, just so people are more communicative, I don't know, with the people around them. So it's not just one big giant you're working at, you know.
yeah,
It's like a thought process of psychologically how, you know, people are no longer approaching a giant, they're approaching 5 or 6 smaller giants that are more personable in the workflow, you know.
and then the cherry on top of the cake, they had a dog, and man, that was
The dog.
amazing. Yeah. Believe it or not, it made my days. I love that, and I don't know. I don't. I think it was a really great place that I have worked on. So as you can see, it was I spent I was there for almost 2 years. So it was a studio that I have in more time here in London.
So you can bring your dog to work. Is that what you're saying? Or?
No. The dog was from the owner of the
You have
one
10,000 dogs running around
of
biting cables.
But some companies here in London, they have like a day that you can bring your dog.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, yeah, we've had that when I worked at what is now Carbon VFX, formerly Frame Store. They would have, I think they had one day they had like people bringing their we had Nerf battles. That's what kept us kind of.
Because like I don't know, like if you like, well, this is not new for anyone, but like if we are stressed with the work, sometimes we don't stop and we just want to finish that shot, and you start to get into more stress and more stress. And if the dog comes by, it's just, oh, little cutie. So you be with it like for like 1 minute or so. After that, you're gonna be much more calm, and your job gonna be much better. This is you don't think about all of these psycho things work, but they really help us to.
So the solution to depression, stress, mental, is having a dog roam the hallways.
I can guarantee you that it really helps. Even if, like, obviously you could do other stuff, but for me it was the first time that I had a dog in the studio, and I really loved it. It was amazing.
Well, that's cool.
Very nice.
So Analog Studios was the dog studio, and that's one of the reasons why it was okay. And then you went to the mill, the monster. After that,
yeah, I went to the mill.
I've had a couple students of mine that have been VFX supervisors through there, and it's a great working environment, obviously, but it's you know, it's tough. You know, it's a Waterloo. You know, you're gonna bust your hump. You know, I still have students this day working there, at least in certain studio locations, and they're, you know, still, I can never get a hold of them. It tells me what they're doing. So.
Yeah, it was a big one. Mill was funny as well. I had a few friends there, like Portuguese friends. So it was funny. I like it.
And then you got Digital Dupe VFX. I don't know much about Dupe VFX. I don't think we have anybody on.
They are a mid-sized company, I would say. When I was there, they were just starting out, and I always wanted to work with them because I don't remember exactly where I met the owner of the company. Not sure. But, however, I had that connection with him, and I always wanted to work there. So it was actually one of the first companies that I worked as a freelancer. Yeah.
And then We've got Senior VFX, Axis VFX, London.
Yeah.
Was that your first official jump to Senior, or?
The thing, it's really back on at that time. It was really difficult to know exactly when you are like a prep artist, and then when you are considered a junior compositor, or when you move from junior to mid, or to mid to senior. Sometimes it's like a gray area, and you don't know exactly. Basically, I did like one TV show alone.
Wow.
Like that TV show. Like I had like a visual effects soup, and I did all the shots remotely, because the Axis visual effects, they don't have an office in London. They have like just a department of Axis animation or something. So I was working in their office and working to Axis visual effects that is not in London. Basically, I had like meetings with the visual effects supervisor if I was doing good or bad, whatever, and they call me as a senior. So I was like, should I be considered as a senior? Well, they call me, so I put it there, senior. It's like that things.
Can I be a senior now?
Yeah,
Why not?
like I remember, like when I was at the DNEG, like after 6 months, I started having like comp tasks, and after a while, like I don't know, 6 7 months, all my shotgun page, all my tasks were like comp, and I was like, should I be considered a compositor now, or I'm still a prep artist? Like it's not unless you move the company that you can be hired as a senior or other kind.
I
But
remember going into the office of my boss when I was working at NetherRealm Studios, and I was like, "So am I now a character artist?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Cool." I started out as an intern, so it was kind of like, "Ooh, I got a title now." I don't think I deserved the title, honestly, but it was just like,
yeah,
"Ooh, character artist for
and
a
this kind
AAA game studio." Yeah,
and this kind of thing happened as well recently, like 1 year ago or two. That I'm gonna get there when you just
Oh,
you are going through all the companies.
oh yeah,
So
yeah.
I will.
So we got Nexus, uh, and then MPC, the monster
Yeah,
MPC.
yeah.
And that's where
So
I have to say, man, if to be a senior VFX compositor in NPC, I'm assuming you worked hard.
not really,
Really? Okay.
not really. Uh, I really enjoy that project. I had a great lead. Again, as like all the companies, you could have good experience and bad experience. I have heard a lot of people talking about like really good experience and other people talking about bad experience. I think this really depends about the project, the timings, the productions. There are so many factors. Yeah, exactly. Like we can't judge like a company just by one example. We don't know what is behind of exactly what some person is saying. And my experience with MPC was amazing. I don't have anything to say. It was a really cool project. We actually had time for to push even further those shots. We had a great lead, as I just said, and I think it was like 8 hours a day and totally normal, like no extra hours, no. It was really smooth,
I
like
think as compositors, we have to come to the conclusion that there is no one studio with uh, some behind the scenes evil men working at a desk with big cigars, you know, making everyone's life miserable. It's just a combination of what the job
Yeah,
is, the deadline, who's running the show. You know what I mean? I don't, you know, there could be some elements of a specific studio that don't want to give up, but some of those might be necessary evils to get the production done and keep it under budget. You know?
and the people have to be conscious that not like the people are not like in the how can I explain this? The people are not in the his best, you know. Like you have ups and downs, and it's normal in life. Sometimes you are a bit more happy, other times you are a bit more sad, other times you feel more productive, and I don't know. The people have issues and that have to deal, and our jobs is not our whole life. You know, we have personal lives, we
Yeah.
have
Well,
issues.
Hugo just did a
So
whole video on mental health and so forth. And
yeah,
I
exactly.
watched the whole thing, and it was really great to hear everybody's opinions. And there are parts when you would listen to it and you would go, you know, there's a certain reality where I have to, it's kind of like hard to find out what the real problem is because it can be, like I said, the situation, the budget, the circumstance. Somebody mentioned in the meetup or in the discussion panel, boys club, you know, and all this. Sort of like a group of people. Doesn't have to be boy or girl, you know, that are sort of like, you know, kind of not bullying or running the show. You know, it's just I think to a certain degree there has to be a certain level of absolute teamwork and humility when you work as a VFX supervisor. You can't be a jerk. You know what I mean? You know, I mean,
Well, it's not like this is not just in our field. We have to be aware of this. This is how life works, man. If you are a good person, you're gonna attract good things to you and to your life and to your job, whatever. Like if you are a jerk person, you're gonna attract that as well. It's like it's like
jerks
the
attract
karma, you
jerks.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like just I don't know, be a good person, and I'm sure life will provide you good things too.
There's the
It's
element of
not,
mercy that needs to be taken into account. The word mercy
yeah.
is not thrown out a lot in production. You don't hear that word. You know what I mean? There's a certain level of mercy to the people that might come off as pushy at the top. You know,
Yeah,
we just, like I said, I just finished my first Netflix show, and there were many 3 a.m. workflows, and then one thing about working it remotely is you could literally just fall out of bed and start working again, and then go all night and then not see daylight. You know, but just keeping a positive attitude in the midst of all levels of stress levels across which you can. Sometimes it's very hard to read when you're reading text responses of people versus physically, even video interactions are not enough for you to know what's really going on behind the scenes, you know. Uh,
yeah, that's true.
I do miss the water cooler conversations of learning too from other artists. But
Yeah,
anyway, so MPC, uh, Troll Visual Effects. That's another one I think I've never heard of. Finland. Oh wow.
yeah. I have that experience that I always wanted to do, like to have like some experience abroad of London, you know, to have in contact, and it was a really nice experience. So it was quite good to me.
And then looks like Builders Club London. You're freelancing for even right now, I
Yeah,
believe. And then
yeah,
Glassworks. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Unit. It's
yeah.
you have so many places you've worked. The LinkedIn is glitching.
Yeah,
I'm trying I'm
those
trying to scroll up. It keeps
those
kicking me back. Um,
those experience at unit. It was what I was talking about. Like like I was hired to be. If you go down a bit,
oh, sorry, I'm jumping ahead here.
yeah, yeah, I got that. So I was hired as a to the lead. to help some sequences, and then I start being involved more in the project, and I start having a lot of responsibilities and talking directly with the visual effects supervisor and leading the teams, and I was kind of in a way that I thought that I was like doing like a leading job, a leading role, and I knew that they really tried to push me, and I accepted that challenge, and I gave everything that I had for those projects. And in the end, when I was looking at the IMDB, I was like, oh, I was a compositing supervisor. I didn't know this. So, so that's why I put there compositor supervisor, because if I didn't check the IMDb, the name of those roles would be to delete, So this is just to explain that is not always a known role, exactly what you are doing, like it's kind of in a gray area sometimes, other times it isn't. But I believe that you have to be in the role, even if you don't know exactly what you are doing, to get that experience. And it's I believe that it is the way of doing things and progress on our careers.
One thing we don't really talk about too much, obviously, because a lot of the viewers are, just trying to get into the industry, is that the idea of when you do move into this leadership role, what is the sort of art form of pressing but not pushing over your team to get everything done correctly, and also the idea of teaching, even taking your teaching skills to press people to go that extra mile and improve on themselves by pushing them. Because I'm going to college right now, and I'll take certain classes and they'll be challenging, and certain classes that are really challenging, and even though the real challenging classes made me sometimes irritable, I look at such the heavy reward of what I got out of it, because the teachers pressed. They didn't push over, but they pressed, and those are the kind of teachers you have more respect for, Yeah.
Yeah, I think let me try to put this in words. I believe that you have to, first of all, to have good manners and have good principles as well. And you have to as a lead or a compositing supervisor, you have to know how to deal with people, and most of these people, they don't know, and sometimes these leads and supervisors, they just get to that positions because they don't have anyone on the company to do those roles, and sometimes they are the people that have been more time on those companies, and as naturally they're gonna put them as a leading positions, and and these and this is exactly the same in terms of teachers, because you could know a lot of that matter, but this doesn't mean that you're going to be a good teacher to teach that. You are like, it's a totally different thing. Like some people can be very good artists as like senior compositors, but this doesn't mean that they're going to be a very good lead. Because they are different things. You have to deal with people. You have to understand your team. You have to know when you have to understand when someone needs help or that people needs rest, because sometimes it's better to say, please go home, rest, and then tomorrow come back, than just stay here more a few hours, you know.
All right. So just continuing on, you went through Unit and then uh, Future Deluxe, Lead VFX Compositor, MPC. Did you return to MPC? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're kind of zigzagging here, and then eventually today you're freelancing for Builders Club. So has it been, as somebody who's a supervisor and a VFX a senior compositor, what in your opinion is the good, the bad, and the ugly of remote working?
That's a good question.
So I figured.
I think I think my opinion is not different from others. It's like I think definitely there are a lot of advantage of working remotely. However, sometimes it's a bit tricky when you are a lead and you have to talk with other people and delegate the tasks and try to understand the needs of your artists, and because like when you are with them in the studio, you don't have to talk sometimes. You just see the person and you kind of guess how the people is feeling, and if you see behavior that is not normal, you go there and talk and try to help in some way, because sometimes it's not related about the job, could be like a personal problem, you know. And in that sense, I believe that is more difficult working remotely. However, this gives us a big advantage, that is a bit more freedom, a bit more time for us. We don't have to commute. We have more time to do our personal life, and like what I start doing is like I can do now. I can plan much better my day, and I can do exercise. I can do other stuff. I can read. I don't know. I have much more time on me, and if I imagine, now I'm trying to always take my 1 hour lunch break, no matter what, and this gives me a sensation when I can when I come back to work. I feel like much more focused, you know, and your day, you start feeling like your day is not about work, and your life is not just about work. You have your own tasks. You in the lunch you can probably cook, or you can go outside for a walk. You can, I don't know, and even if you like, sometimes imagine I have days that I don't feel that much productive. Like imagine like today I'm a bit more stressed or worried about something, and you feel like not very productive. Like imagine in the morning, and sometimes I just like I finish at 6 and I just do my break, and then I come back later on, and I can work more 1 or 2 hours because I won't, you know, because I feel that I didn't give my best to that company, and so this is the kind of balance I would say that is, I don't know, it's different. It's not the same, and I think the future will not go for fully remote companies. I think it's important to have the human contacts and interaction.
Yeah.
Personally,
We need to return, but some people are like, no, we'll never return. It'll be a hybrid, and some people are like, no, we have to return to fully interacting, or maybe going in the office 3 out of the 5 days or 2 out of the 5 days.
I think the best thing of all of these is at least we know that it's possible, and maybe for some people they want to work fully remote and could be fine for some companies. For others, they could have a kind of system that says like, okay, you can work here 3 days and then you can do remote 2 days. I don't know, but imagine like if you have kids, you have to spend more time with your kids, and these allow us to have more control of our own life, because life is just not about visual effects, man.
Yeah, I mean, when I worked at again, what is Carbon VFX now, formerly film workers in Chicago, I was shocked at the concern the company had towards everybody. It was almost like it was years of, even all the leadership roles, it was almost like years of heavy production put a mindset in everybody from the top all the way to the bottom that this is just work and it's not life. And I wasn't expecting that, being one of the first sort of VFX houses I was going into. I was like, wow, everybody here is, we had, I won't go into details, but somebody there had someone who had issues or passed in the family, and they were in a leadership role, and everyone was just like, I remember turning to my friend, one of the compositors I was with, and he was just like, this is, this is just a commercial. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's like that kind of attitude, and it's like, yeah. I mean, it was just really weird. And I was blessed to work for that company and learn from them.
I believe each person has to find his own balance, because what could be what could mean to me to have a balanced life, then doesn't mean that for you would be the same, and to have this freedom of choosing what you want, it's amazing. I think it's the best part of it.
This is, in case you guys got IgorGama.com. One of the things I wanted to, this is like a guilty pleasure here, but I love the fact that you actually list your workstation, the actual specs. And my question to you is, and you can not tell, but how much did all this cost? Like, if you were to put a ballpark figure on this, maybe, what
yes,
and is it necessary for somebody that's, say, a mid-level or a junior going into online-based workflows as Nuke?
Well, what means necessary is sometimes about time. It's most of the shots you probably could do with a lower specs workstation, for sure. They will just have to be. You just have to be more patient with the software, because sometimes we don't have that time to be and wait for, let's see this frame. Now we are rendering this frame, and it takes like, I don't know, 1 minute just to process all the frame, and now let's check another frame, because as you know, like, we have to check a couple of frames when you are doing, if that effect that you are doing is applying correctly to all of that shot. And so I'm not very patient, so I just try to be productive and try not wasting time of hardware. And that's why, and when I bought this workstation, I was starting, not starting as a freelancer, but I was starting of thinking about remote jobs. This was before COVID. And basically I had my workstation without any work for like 1 year. I didn't have any remote jobs, because here in London, I always have been to the studios. I worked there as a freelancer, and then go to another studio, and then I was just like, as you just saw, I was just like jumping around because it's a freelance life. And I didn't have any remote jobs to do as a freelance. And when COVID came, I had a workstation.
Perfect timing.
And it was really great to have a very powerful one. I still think that it could be better. Well, it always can be, right? But it's very good to handle any type of shots, and I can be more efficient with my time, and not because like working remotely. If you are not using those kind of softwares that you connect to the workstation in the company, you have to understand that you don't have a render farm. So when you have to wait to render, you have to wait, and that the client gonna be paying for that, you know. So in that time, you're gonna be without doing anything. Yeah. So I I built this workstation uh, uh, mainly for Nuke.
If you were to pick out
And
maybe one or two or maybe even three of these elements here, what would be the most important in regards to remote workflow for, like, say, a mid-level compositor?
uh, the processing power is very important.
Okay, Intel
So
Core i9.
yeah, and that CPU should be updated, and it's the next thing to update, because like GPU is you can use that, but is not the main core of processing inside of Nuke. And those storage disks, those M2, if you see the 1 terabyte Samsung, those disks are like really fast, and now there is a new generation that is even faster than those. But that's amazing. Um, I think it's, to be honest, the two things that I would say, and obviously internet connection. Uh, like I can complain, and to be honest, I could have like 1 gigabyte, but I never had any issue with that internet. So I have been like responsible for all the projects, and it's all good. Like uploading, as you see, my upload speed and download is exactly the same, and it's very important to
Yeah.
have a very load connection.
Before we, I was going to jump into your reel, but I don't know if we have enough time to do that. I think we'll just kind of just peruse through it really quick. People always like looking at reels. I don't know. But you have a very nice...
They are so old, man. So old. I have to find time, I believe,
Yeah,
to update them.
there's like some Doctor Strange stuff, and
This project was really cool.
Fungus the Boogeyman. That was a school. That
Yeah.
was a TV show. Wow.
Yeah, it was a TV show. It was one of the first projects that I worked at DNEG TV.
That's creepy.
On this project as well, we had a great lead and visual effects supervisor. It was really cool.
I just, it just blows my mind when I see these comps, and I just think, like there's so much to learn. But yet, I go back to even what Josh Parks was saying. There just comes a point where you just inherently know what to do. You figured out 10 tools. Those 10 tools help you do this, and then this. So eventually, it just becomes secondhand nature for you to figure out each shot individually. It's not like you need to have 50 individual comp tutorials by DNEG or something. You know what I mean? It's just like, how do we apply what we've learned in the past to this? You know.
And most of these jobs, these shots, they were made years ago. So all of these as like, I don't know, 4 years at least. So as you can see, this is like 2018, so this is quite old. Um, and yeah, most of these shots were done as a junior compositor.
Yeah, it's like everyone I interview, they haven't updated their reels in years because they're too busy
Because
and they don't need to. You know what I mean?
like first of all, I don't like to edit. That's the first thing.
Okay.
Then it's really hard to judge your own shots because you always have feelings for the time that you have spent there and whatever. Um, and then as a freelancer, man, you are, well, I can talk for others, but I'm always busy and always jumping around because like when you jump around in so many companies, you basically, like, that feeling when you go to a company and after a while you start feeling comfortable and you start feeling a bit lazy, just a tiny bit, a bit lazy, and you kind of feel like that you are in the mood, you just don't have probably to prove yourself as much. You just get relaxed a bit. And as a freelancer, the this energy is totally different because projects that I have been, well, it depends. Like, but I have projects that they are like 2 weeks. Sometimes it's 1 month, and other times it's like 7 months or whatever. But especially when we have small projects, and when you are just hired for that small project, and you have like 3 weeks of and that you have to be the best of you, like you are hired just to do your best, and you are always, when you move, you start proving yourself again, you do the best, then you move again, then you start feeling that pressure again. So it keeps you I don't know, working with a lot of enthusiasm, I would say, and kind of proving your value. Yeah, so basically this reel is kind of old. If you go up, you have the commercials reel. That's yeah, that one that I found that I should do two different reels because the nature of those works are totally different and they didn't make much sense combining in just one reel. It's kind of look weird.
Yeah, that's some craziness,
yeah,
man. Whew.
yeah, this was for Future Deluxe. Yeah.
Yeah, I did look at this reel. It was really beautiful. I'm like, man, this is some
Yeah.
crazy stuff going on
Yeah.
here. Is this Houdini stuff? All this crazy particles, or?
Yeah. Of course. This was for Analog Studio, the Dog Studio.
The dog studio.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if my show like is hey, I'm gonna go to that studio now. Or like hey, I got dogs, like people are watching these interviews going, maybe I should go apply
If
it to Trickster, or it's like, I don't know.
if I can give some advice, well, it depends of what each person wants, but I would say try to go to TV shows, to film, to commercials. Try to explore big studios and small studios, and start understanding where you feel more comfortable, where you feel that you want to be, because each person has different needs. And to be honest, I like to change. I like to be in big companies and small companies and films and commercials because the projects are always different.
Mm. Well, before we go to the questions, I think did we talk at all about the comp layer? We did, right?
Not yet.
Oh, we did. So Pedro, who's a VFX supervisor and so forth, put together an amazing course. And
Yeah.
again, I'm going to preface this again. I'm not getting paid by Complayer. I just recently discovered his channel, his YouTube channel with interviews and so forth. But everybody started talking about how great this program is. Did you want to share it in regards to, because again, we're always trying to promote stuff that helps people from an
Yeah.
online basis to move up. And again, this is more like mid-level senior to move up to supervisor. So
Yeah. So basically, yeah, I met Pedro here in London, and I always had a great admiration for his technical skills and experience in this industry. And he always talked to me about his great tools that he has, and that he's not it's not about like just his tools, you know. It's just how we think how to tackle some problems. I think it's the most interesting way that Pedro have, and then he created that YouTube channel, Complayer, that have been interviewed as well a lot of people. And it was a great surprise when he created this course, because we had this conversation before that because I wanted at that time to learn, like, and at some point as a mid senior, as you just said, you don't have, like, you just have to learn from your experience and with time, and because there is no resources for learning for that level. And when he exposed this course to everyone, for me it was amazing, because it was exactly what I really wanted. And since the beginning, I was just like trying to talk with him. Let me know when this thing comes live. Let me know. I want to be in.
I
I
want to
want
be
to
the
be in.
first.
I don't. I didn't, to be honest, I didn't care that much about the program itself, because I knew that it's going to be amazing, because I knew the nature of Pedro, you know, and I was just like so excited for this course, and finally this January I was part of the class one, and it was amazing, was amazing. Again, I'm also not paid to
No,
say
no, yeah.
anything, um, but the way that that Pedro explained things, you know, is, again, let's go back about those teachers. Like, being a teacher, you have to be good with people. You have to deal with people, and here it's the same. I never worked with Pedro, but I'm quite sure he is an amazing supervisor and lead, because he knows how to treat people. You know, how to motivate people. In a bad situation, he knows how can go around and show you how to do the things, and have a better attitude. Um, and this course is not just about technical skills. That is another important thing. We talked about production. We talked about bids. We talked about clients. We talked about frustrations. We talked about bad experience. We talked about, I don't know, so many things that a compositor supervisor has to deal with, because it's just not technical. On a leading position, you have to do much more things. It is a bit about being a freelancer. You don't do just your job as an artist. You have to deal with clients. You have to deal with invoicing. You have to deal with accountants. You have to deal with business years. You have to do your own holidays. Well, you have so many things that you have to learn, and sometimes you are not just so focused on the artist side.
And you got to think about like props for him too. I always give props to anybody that's working in the industry at advanced levels and takes the time out to actually put together a course. They don't have to do that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And some people might go, oh, price is a little bit pricey or whatever. But I think from what I'm hearing from people that this is how much these guys get paid. Why would you accuse them? You know, why would you have this sort of attitude like, well, that's a lot of money. Well, look at where they're coming from. Look what how much they're making on a day rate. You know,
you have to think
you know,
two things.
Yeah.
You have to think one thing is sometimes the people gives the value for the program based on the price. And the price is one thing, value is another thing. And if these costs like 100 quid, people probably will not give a shit about this, you know. This is a factor. And the other thing is you have to understand that what you are paying here is just not the course itself. You are paying much more than the course. You have to pay all the experience that Pedro have, all these years. And you have to understand that you are basically taking a step forward on your career much faster than he did. And you have to understand that he's giving you that opportunity. Of course, that he has to ask for money, you know.
I don't even
like,
for myself. I don't even ask for. You know, I'm like, okay, this is YouTube. It's free. I'm doing this on my own time. I'm not making any money, you know, off of this. I don't monetize my channel at all because I'd rather have people not be annoyed by as many commercials. But it's like there's a part of me that's like, you know, when I ask people like, hey, buy my cameraman Evan a coffee for $5, and like only 20 some people do it out of like thousands. I'm like, come on, guys. It's like I'm not even asking you to give me money. I'm asking you to help a kid out. You know what I mean?
But
you know, it's like that motivates me. That's like, you know, okay, you know, I guess I'll just go and work my Netflix gig and, you know, take time.
The question that the people should do as well is why you pay for a university course and you don't pay for this course. What is different?
Yeah, exactly.
Because, like,
exactly.
to be honest, like I paid much more for my course back in Portugal than I paid for this, and I'm quite sure that this course is gonna put myself in another level that my uni even.
Most definitely.
You know, like it's. Come on, it's normal. Like you are doing your own job. Have you thought about like how many hours Pedro spent to do this? Like it's crazy. Like and I think the value it's incountable.
And then you realize he doesn't have to do it.
Exactly.
He doesn't have to do it. And the pay between education and working in the industry as a VFX supervisor is, you know, that's what I, you know, even when just talk in regards to even Hugo, you know, I've always told everybody, like, jump on his Patreon. You're not going to get this kind of, you know, information from anybody. You know what I mean? It's just, it's not going to be on Udemy or, you know, even my site, for crying out loud, you know. So support the very few people who are working in the industry that give information out, even at a level that's, I've seen some insanely amazing tutorials that are dirt cheap from professionals, and I'm like, my gosh, you should be charging way more for this, you know.
Like Tony Lyons, like that tutorial about keying that he released, I don't know, maybe 6 years ago or something. Have you thought about how many people watch that? Because everyone knows that tutorial, and it's a great tutorial, and it was for free. And now
thank God for Tony, man, because where would we be without?
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like you
um,
look at that, you go, and that's my motivation. Like now, I'm starting 2 new Netflix shows this just right now, and I'm getting busy. Before I was like kind of freelancing. Now it's like whoa, and now it's like I love my channel. I love teaching people, but my motivation is when I see people helping other people. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So basically, when I and again, I don't. It's not like, oh, I need money. You know what I mean? It's not. That's not the case. But what motivates me is when I see my audience taking on the reins of support and help to other people. You know what I mean? Not even me. You know what I mean? So that's what I try to culture in even the interviews. And you can see the people that are on my show working successfully are there because of their attitude and their giving personality and what uh, that's part of it.
I think in general, like if I look back to my since I came to London, like I always had really good colleagues. Like everyone, I don't know. I don't remember no one that I have asked for help that they have said no. Yeah,
Oh,
I think like no one said that to me, and
yeah,
and and they really helped me a lot to get where I am today, and I'm totally blessed for that. And yeah, so I think just think Pedro did a great job, and I can guarantee
yeah.
to you that there
I
is
mean,
anything like that out there.
he's got like endorsements from a lot of people that I've had guests on. So again, I don't know who he was, or all I knew is like he was offering a course. But then I started hearing back the
And
feedback from
then
other people, and I'm like, wow, that's awesome. Here is a guy taking mid-level senior to supervisor level, and meanwhile I'm trying to figure out a way to collaborate in sort of like a daisy chain operation to get advanced comps and scenarios in front of a YouTube audience. You know what I mean? Without overburdening the people that are working their rear end off in the studio. Like, oh my gosh, Matt wants me to come on again, and I got to do another tutorial. And no guest has ever talked like this to me. But I'm like, they're busy. You know what I mean? It's like I can't. So anyway.
and another great thing that we had on that course, like we were part of the class one, and we helped Pedro in some way to shape this course with a lot of variety of senior compositors that were part of this course. It was amazing because we had people from all around the world. We have people that worked in all the biggest visual effects houses, and even we had also colorists and CG supervisor. So all that experience that people bring to this kind of course. It's really good because it's just not what the course teach you, is as well what the people talk between each other and helps you in some way. So basically, we became all e-friends, and we actually I don't know. It was really nice. It was really nice, and well, I was expecting a lot from technical side and this course and a lot of skills, but to be honest, I wasn't expecting that much from all the students, and all our meetings, because like this last like 3 months and something, and every week we had a meeting, um, it was so amazing. All those amazing, all those meetings with everyone sharing.
You can make whole episodes out of that. You know.
Believe it or not, there was, yeah,
Put those up
it
on
was a
YouTube,
great
and that'll
content
get
there.
people to want to come to take the class. You know what I mean, for the next semester or whatever it is. But we want.
And then we also realized that we have like the issues that we have, like personal issues,
Oh,
in terms of, oh, I find this difficult, or oh, I had this issue at work, and a lot of people have the same
and you
issues,
don't want to
and
broadcast that to
usually,
everybody.
and the people don't talk about
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
And what we realized that we have more in common
yeah, yeah.
than anything else.
That subject's brought up, so they're like, okay. But anyway, I hate to rush you here. I have a
What
graduation
is
party to
that?
go to, but we got questions. I'm sorry, audience. We kind of blabbered on forever. At least me, I did. So we've got World Media says, I want to be a compositor. I'm still learning Nuke. So what would you put on a show reel? I don't know 3D rendering in Maya or anything else. I also learned 3D Equalizer. Should I add match moving clips? Uh, is there a big demand for those
Well,
3D Equalizer guys that really?
I believe the people, first of all, have to decide what they want to be. I see a lot of softwares there and subfields, and it is it's kind of difficult if you don't know, um, because like as a compositor, in general, you will not do all of those tasks. You know, I- it's like as myself, like I was when I decided to come to London. I was like, okay, I just gonna be focused on this, and I gonna apply uh, as a roto artist, you know. And I didn't focus about keying. I didn't focus about compositing. I didn't focus about prepping. I didn't focus about 3D. I didn't focus about anything else. I just focused in roto. It was the way that I shaped myself, my skills to get into this field. And I think you have to compromise yourself a bit for what you want. You know.
Sajin Padra, hello sir. What should I do to become a comp supervisor in the upcoming decade? 10 years. Year one. Get a job in the VFX industry.
uh, well, you just have to keep in the industry and prove that you are knowledgeable with all of these concepts of
I wouldn't even ask that
compositing.
question unless I was actually working in the industry as a junior or a mid-level, because you got to first realize, am I even a compositor? You know what I mean? Am I even into
Because
VFX?
like other thing is like I see a lot of people that they start growing as an artist and they become like mid, then they become senior, and they don't want to be supervisors or leads, and that's fine. It's all good. The people have to understand exactly what they want
I've seen
because
longevity issues too, where I have students that are unbelievably good artists, good leaders, and they'll tell me firsthand, I'm not naming names, but I know a few who worked at major studios as supervisors, and they're like, I can't go more than a year without like, okay, I got to take a break, you know, or 2 years, you know.
yeah,
So when I see that, I go, okay, you know, even the most gung ho leadership, you know, humanitarian still can only do it for 2 years and take a break and come back, you know. But anyway, we got Lonely CGI. Hello, Mr. Igor, compositor. I have a serious. He's got all these emojis. Oh my gosh. I have a very serious question. So I don't know if you're lighting pro or not. Is there no 360 HDR map and reference photos? Wasn't shot on set, and you only got a raw footage. So you got no 360 HDR map. no reference photos. You got no pan tilt on forward backward movement of camera like this, integrated CG in the middle of the sequence. OFC, you solved camera. In this case, how do you recreate HDR maps to light up a scene, objects for integrating CG, making cards, projection footage with diffuse material on it, or some kind of reverse engineering, try to match real lights in the scene? Not asking for a Nuke reference specifically, but only 3D software. Blender, have a good chat, bruv. Thanks for attention. Does MPC rebuild beauty passes with different lights lit by once?
Gosh, so many things. I can't read it with so many emojis.
Yeah, the emojis are all over the place. I lost it. What the heck? Okay, so
What's the question that I didn't
something
get?
about something about like having no 360 map, no references. I don't know, honestly. It's a lot of less emojis and more explanation. In this case, how do you recreate HDR maps to light up a scene? So, is this like a challenge? You have nothing.
It's not. Is not this a 3D question?
Yeah, it looks like a 3D question. I think let's ask this question. I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to. Does MPC rebuild beauty passes with different light setups by once? By once, I don't know.
Why won't
We'll go on.
Get that.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, this needs. I think it's just a translation, maybe. 404. I have two questions. What was the most trickiest and frustrating project that you ever worked in, and how can a VFX artist put a price on his service if he is a one-man team?
That's a good one. Well, the frustration project, the most one, I will not talk about it. I can talk about a second one. A second one was when I was hired to do to basically help a company to solve some shots that came from another company, and the client wasn't happy with. So basically, that the company that hired me got all the scripts from the other company, and when I opened it, I was like, oh my god, I couldn't believe that. It was like a mess, but like a real mess. This is no joking, I spent like 1 or 2 days just to understand the script. It was such a mess. Like, imagine in a shot you have 4 or 5 different cameras, and I was like, what the hell, which camera should I pick? That's just so. This means that something is not working from the beginning, you know, because like probably the guy had like a camera from a part of the shot, another camera for another part of the shot, and it was like a mess. And the node man.
Spiderwebs.
At some point, I just did a pre-comp and start working after that because it was impossible. I would say that was the second more frustrating job that I had. And what was the second question?
Second question was, how can a VFX artist put a price on his service if he is a one-man band?
You have to understand what, first of all, how the industry puts the price. What is the current price? Because you are not building a new industry; it's already working without you. You are just getting in. So you have to want to know the prices and try to understand your value on the market, what you can provide, which time that will take you to give the same result, and then you kind of start comparing yourself to others and understand what is your value. I think is mainly that.
Ian Sokola, this question is kind of a personal and hopefully will be okay for you guys. How did you find your specialty, or did you from a beginning you already knew what you wanted? In my uni, I started with digital drawing, then learned 3D, then compositing, and I have gotten all of the things rolling through my head. I would like to know others inside, cause I'm tempted now to start learning simulation and have the feeling that I'm out of focus. Thanks for the content. Appreciate it. Ian Sokola.
I would say like the answer is no. You don't have to know exactly what you want, and actually, the person is in the best place to explore what he or she wants. Because like when I went to uni, I went for graphic design. What up? I just came like, and then I went through video to audio to web, like, and then I end up doing motion graphics, and then in the future compositing. But yes, you don't have to know. You have to understand what you start liking more and trying to drive to in a position that you're going to focus on what you like more and more and more and more, and start getting with less possible positions, I would say.
We got Noah Katan. Hi, Igor. Do you have any tips regarding efficiency as a compositor, faster iterations, workflows, communication, etc.? Noah Katan.
I think like what makes the difference, one of the big difference is it's efficient. Like when you are a junior, you build your shot, your script in a way, and when you are a senior, you probably build in another way because you have experience from problems that could appear, for things that the client probably will want to change, and with the experience, that is the only way that you know this, that you kind of understand what you might have to change in the future. So basically, I think will take exactly the same time for a junior compositor build the first version of the script and for a senior compositor. However, the second version, if the compositor have to fix something, the senior, he knows exactly where he has to go to change that, and it's going to be much more faster and efficient script than that junior guy, because junior guy, the way that he structure the shot is totally different. And I always advise the teams that I work with is like, before starting a shot, think about it. Think what you have to do, what kind of approaches that you could try. And instead of just like starting doing it, just pause like for 10, 15 minutes and think, and probably start just experimenting some little bits, and probably if it understand if it's a go or not. I think efficient is about that comes with experience, and this for not going for like nodes and technical stuff. Yeah.
Manoj Manarahan, Mad Looks VFX. FYI, guys, I'll be on Mad Looks VFX soon. He just did an interview with me. I think I rambled too much, so definitely check that out. But he's asking, hi, can you share some experience using Nuke's particle systems? Do you have any specific tips for working in particles that you'd like to share? Thanks in advance.
To be honest, I didn't work that much with Nuke particles. However, well, let me explain why. Because like, especially if you don't know that much Nuke particle system, it could take you a long time to tweak some stuff and to understand what those nodes do. And I didn't have the need of doing Nuke particles. However, with this complex course, Pedro shows us like a totally different way of doing things. And again, they are so simple, and the way that he structured everything, and the way that the system that he built to preview the particles in Nuke, it's amazing, and it totally changed this game of Nuke particles. So I can't wait to play with that in the future projects.
The Oscar Gomez. Hello, Igor. Here in Spain, due to COVID, we have difficulties for entry jobs. In my case, junior compositor or even internship, 2 years ago, the job board was full of this kind of jobs. When do you think everything's going to go back to normality? Thanks in advance. Greetings from Madrid.
I don't know.
You know the answer, don't you? I'm sure you know the answer. Come on now.
I don't know.
Stop holding on.
I think this is not an issue just from Spain. It's like around all the world. Like all the industry went down. Well, I think the things are definitely better now. There are a lot of things going on. At least here in London, a lot of studios are recruiting. Not sure if it's exactly for junior positions or not.
Is that a real problem going on? We keep hearing this issue of like, we're not going to take a risk on you because you're a junior, because you're going to jump. Is there a shortage of juniors? Is that a reality, or is because I mean, to me, the avenue in was television. That's what I'm doing right now. You know, I mean, and everyone's been saying like TV's been a good avenue in as a junior. You know,
Yeah.
But yeah, it just seems like there's this gap, there's this chasm, so to speak, between education, uni, you know, and then the roto prep and all that goes outsource.
I
So it's
think
like, well, how do we
one of
become artists overnight? You know what I mean? With experience, you know. So
one of the things is like this field like is not very profitable, and then obviously the companies try their best, and even with the tax incentives, sometimes they struggle. That's why we see companies closing every year. And now, like countries as India start working a lot with visual effects, and since everything now is so globalized, we get into a big issue that is what we charge here in London is different of what they charge in Canada, or what they charge in I don't know, Australia and India as a much lower price, and this becomes an issue for like tasks like roto or prep that most of the studios are outsourcing those kind of jobs for the Indian. That's why we see a lot of like double negatives, MPCs, or well, all the big companies now have office in India because of this, and this brings a big issue, I would say, for all the other countries that have an higher price for those same tasks. So if you think as a business owner, you have to think as well about profits, and it's much cheaper to hire someone in India than hire a junior here. There is no doubt. So this
especially a
this
junior
problem,
that wants to jump.
exactly. That's the point. That's exactly the point. And this is just not about COVID. This is a problem that we have in our industry. It's one of the disadvantage of this globalization. We have another advantage as well. So it's tricky. I believe that it's tricky to get into this industry. Well, come on. If you think I was like 6 years ago when I was trying to come to London, no one believed me. No one wanted to take that risk. I have to do these risks by myself, and I come on. I moved the country in 2 days, and they offered me a contract of 1 month. After that month, I could go back to Portugal. Could be possible.
I had that experience
So
when I was at Frame Store in Chicago. I did a little raffle or something back when I was doing hosting the user group meetup. I wasn't working at Frame Store, but I was there doing the user group meetup with the Foundry, and I remember sitting behind a former student of mine that was in front of me. He didn't know I was behind him, and he had a buddy of his who was like a VFX guy, and they were actually like mocking the VFX for Filmmakers promo I did, and I was like, it's kind of like, gee, thanks a lot, guys. I taught you know, and it's just funny. We just passed 15,000 subscribers. We got 1.1 million views. So, you'd be surprised how if you just put a little effort into something, it definitely pays off. But it seems like there's in your life you're always gonna have people that are gonna be like, forget it, you ain't gonna amount to much. Yeah.
yeah, I think the people have to take the risk. They have, but this is not just for this industry. The people sometimes think that it's just this industry. It's not. You have to take risks in life and try to fight for your goals. And come on. Now, yeah, go ahead. Well, the thing that if we think about I just said one of those disadvantage of globalization, but another advantage is the flights are much cheaper. So when I came to London, my thought was, okay, I go there, I have this experience. If I don't like, I can come back at any time. And or if I didn't find any job, or if I don't get that, because I came just for that interview. I wasn't sure. No one promised me anything. I just came, and yeah, I took that risk.
Cool.
Luckily, it went well.
The one last question for you, sir. Roxy? Hi, sir. Can a compositor become an on-set supervisor? If so, walk us through the process and also explain to us the pros and cons of your on-set supervising regarding learning, health management, as well as the pay. And will he also have a role in the studio post-supervising on set? That's a lot there.
Well, yeah, then there are a lot of questions there. Definitely, the answer is yes. You can become a one-set supervisor, but the people have to understand that they are different roles. So, but yes, you also can possibly become a visual effects supervisor from 3D. You can there is no limits in terms of on set.
It's
On set,
health management, and also do you have a role in the studio post supervising from supervising on set?
Well, this I think depends to this from I don't know, some people. Some studios could have separate specialists, they could have visual effects supervisors that kind of work just inside of the studio, that other people can be on-set supervisors as well. Yeah, I don't see any way of a company can limit for what you want to do.
Well, I think with that said, again, I hate to jump off, my friend. It's been an awesome time, and really, I appreciate your time. I understand you're really busy, and it took us some efforts, obviously, to have you on because it's really, really busy. So thanks for sharing. Looks like 2 hours.
Compositor life.
Compositor life. Pixel Gypsy life continues. But if you guys want to check out Igor's website, I have all the links at the bottom. You can check out IgorGama.com. And again, if you have any more questions, I guess you could contact them by LinkedIn. I don't know if anyone...
Yeah, I always try to answer everyone. Sometimes it's not possible to go back in the same day or whatever, but I try to promise to myself that I will always answer to everyone. And so far, I think I have done a good job on that, because one of the things that I most value is I will never forget where I came from and what needs and issues that I found all over these years. So I always try to give to people what I wanted to have, basically. So yes, if you guys have any questions, please get in touch. I will try my best to answer in a short amount of time.
Awesome. It's been a pleasure, sir. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks a lot for having me, and keep the great work that you have been doing.
I'll try. Really getting busy.